Gran Turismo want you to pay $5,000 to access the content in the latest DLC. This is not a joke. This is 100% true. It costs $5,000 to get the car coming in the latest update. Now, there are some reasons why for this that aren't as simple as it appears. So I'm going to let you know why they've done this and what it means for Gran Turismo going forward. By the way, I'm going to cover everything that's coming in this update, but there's a really big one here, which is the $5,000 DLC. Absolutely insane. And I'm going to talk a bit about ACC as well. If you don't know, ACC is Assetto Corsa Competizione. It is arguably a racing game that is as good or better than Gran Turismo, but they have a very different model when it comes to content in their game. So today, as of recording, they have launched a GT2 pack for ACC, and this has got some amazing reaction online. People are really looking forward to it, even though it costs $14.99. So for $14.99 you've got to pay, but you're going to get these brand new up-to-date GT2 racing cars. Whereas with Gran Turismo today, or strictly tomorrow, you are going to get a concept car by a watch company, you're going to get a concept car by Genesis, and you're going to get a Suzuki Jimny like little 4x4 thing. So very different propositions when it comes to content. And I think it's fair to say that pretty much universally, players want the sort of stuff that we're getting in the ACC update. They want up-to-date racing cars. People also want update road cars as well, or classic road cars, but people generally don't seem to care too much about these concept cars. So why are Gran Turismo adding these concept cars? Well, it's a free update, but it still costs a lot of money for Gran Turismo to make and model these cars. And I think there's something really interesting about the way that Gran Turismo are pretty now consistently describing these updates. So these are free updates. They're free for us, the players, the people that have paid for the game, you and me. Maybe not some of the influencers got it for free, but for definitely you and me, we paid for it and we're getting these free updates. That's absolutely great. But these free updates are, I believe, paid for essentially by the manufacturers whose cars are going in the games. And who is going to pay the most for a car going into a game? Well, I think a luxury watch company. Now, is this the only way? What about non-free updates? It's happened before in Gran Turismo. If you remember the very well-received Lewis Hamilton DLC in Gran Turismo Sport, where we got some bespoke Lewis Hamilton branded time trial content that I think universally was pretty much loved. It was great content in GT Sport. So it seems to be for Gran Turismo, we're stuck in this world where either we're going to get free updates that are going to be subsidized by manufacturers that we probably, I mean, is Bulgari a manufacturer? Manufacturers we don't particularly care too much about, for cars we don't care too much about because it's marketing for them. Or we're going to have to accept that if we want content like we're getting in ACC, we are going to need to pay for it. And I think because Gran Turismo are describing these very prominently as free updates, and I'm not sure they always did that, but they're very prominently now free updates, I think they're opening the door for paid content. And I personally, as someone who paid £70 for Gran Turismo 7, I would pay £15 for a full grid of up-to-date GT3 racing cars. But at the moment, we're left with Bulgari. And what do Bulgari get out of this? Well, Bulgari are getting so much exposure. They got this bit in the GT World Series finals, actually. They've got this video. I'm giving them free marketing. And they're also got this thing here, this collaboration where if you buy the watch. Now, this is the critical bit. This car is being added to the game now, but you or I, the people that have paid money for this game, won't be able to access it until February. It's only if you buy a Bulgari watch, a specific one, will you get a QR code that will give you access to the car right now in late January. I mean, I find this absolutely insane. There's been a lot of discussion about the watch. Apparently, it was meant to sell out within a day and then it hasn't. So I don't know anything about watches. I'm not going to pretend to. I've nothing against sort of watch collection and that whole industry. It sounds very exciting. But fundamentally, it's encroaching into sort of our world of car enjoyment. So not only are we getting a car that we would probably enjoy to drive more, we're not even going to be able to access it. And this is something that Gran Turismo I don't think have been very transparent about. Certainly not clear in the trailer. It's sort of buried in some small print. It doesn't mention the price. Also, if you're in the UK, you get a really rough deal on exchange rates here, I've noticed, compared to the our American friend. So maybe for American, you've got a watch collector, this is great, but I think that market is very small. Now, this does leave us in the kind of ridiculous position where either you can have ACC and get up-to-date GT2 cars for paying £14-15, or on Gran Turismo, you can get a car that does not exist in real life for the low price of £4,490. So we seem to be getting the worst of both worlds in Gran Turismo. I wouldn't really mind if we were getting a racing car or a classic road car or a new road car that I'd be very excited to drive if that's sponsored by a manufacturer. Bear in mind that Gran Turismo is officially and plainly sponsored by manufacturers like Genesis, like Toyota, like Mazda, and their cars seem to be coming to the game all the time. Remember, we've got the Toyota GR86, Toyota GR Yaris. We've got Genesis coming in this update as well. So it seems pretty clear that this is actually the way that this DLC has been working for a while. And to be honest, I hadn't really appreciated it until now. I think it's taken this particularly ridiculous cooperation, in my view, for it to come to the surface. And when I look back, I might do a little table and say, well, hang on, how many cars being added have been sponsored? And that's all great if the sponsor... Look, I take sponsorships from this channel. I work with brands where they will give me a product or they may pay me to do a piece of content on this channel. And I tend to pick the sponsorships that I think you're going to be interested in. And I feel like Gran Turismo have just got this one wrong, and they may have taken the bag and it's not what people are interested in, but you may not care. Let me know in the comments, by the way, if you think I'm getting the complete wrong end of the stick and this is a free update and you don't need to drive this car. We're not losing out on anything. It's here because of Bulgari, and you can just sort of tune out for it. And maybe I'll take a note with that with some of my sponsorships. Maybe I should be doing some more Raid Shadow Legends. We will see. Now, what else is coming in this update? I promise I'll tell you. There are some interesting things. So firstly, let's confirm that the Genesis VGT Vision Gran Turismo is coming. And this is more interesting than the Bulgari one, in my opinion, because Genesis actually make cars, and some of this might translate into cars of the future. I mean, if you remember sort of that Audi concept car a long time ago, and we saw a lot of the stylings of that pass through. BMW concept cars, they sort of passed through. So this one makes more sense, but it might be coming from the exact same sort of sponsorship background. I don't know if that makes me a little bit of a hypocrite. And the other car coming in the update, and I'm very interested to know if you like this or not, because I might be being a bit harsh on it, and bearing in mind that I did do the Willys Jeep daily race and actually really enjoyed it, is this, the Suzuki Jimny, which is a tiny 4x4 off-roading car. This is inevitably going to come with a daily race that is going to be absolute chaos. There are some specific races coming for this car that I'm going to tell you about in this video as well. This does look like a lot of fun. I would love to do this at Lake Louise in VR and drive it. Again, Suzuki, I think, are a sponsor of Gran Turismo, because we have a lot of Suzuki cars coming, like the VGTs and whatnot. But anyway, that is a little bit more exciting, and at least you don't need to pay £5,000 to access it, because you could probably get a Jimny in real life for £5,000. You could definitely get a very decent second-hand one, actually. And here's some of the extra content coming. As usual, we're getting extra menu books. I'd love to know in the comments what you think about the cafe book system. Like, I personally don't think it should be continued in Gran Turismo. I just don't think it's the best way of trying to spell a narrative and do a career mode, but we're going to have some more cafe books anyway. This one's quite a cool one. You've got the Penzel, you've got the Skyline, and we've got the R90C, I believe. So that's quite cool to have that, and there'll be some narrative. But I just do think the old ways of doing these career modes are better, where you start off with a cheap car and you're grinding to get the credits, but in a fair way, and you want to upgrade your car and you get an attachment with your car, and maybe there's some rivalry. Some of the drivers have personalities, and anyway, I can talk about that in another video, so make sure to subscribe so you get that. We've got some new events there for the Jimny and also the VGT. So you can see the Jimny one is going to be at Lake Louise and at Sardinia Windmills. You can see it looks quite cool here. I think it could be a lot of fun, and we'll see how it handles in the loose. Lake Louise is the last, I think, great addition, along with GT Sophie. And I think they came in the same update. That was a big update. I want to see more updates like that. And I don't think Lake Louise gets enough love, by the way. I don't think that we as a community, not any of us individually, but we as a community can't always be very negative about Gran Turismo, but not praise the stuff it does well. And I think Lake Louise is a lot of fun. in VR especially. This is pretty cool. Not these new scapes, which is like, we don't even need to really know about that, and it's not a big deal. Oh, that's quite harsh. But here, the vertical, that is quite cool that they're doing this, because I've tried to shoot vertically before and you have to zoom out and do different aspect ratios. But this would be great for doing phone homepage stuff. So if you're a virtual photographer, I genuinely think this is going to be awesome, and it's one of the best features of virtual photography you get in gaming. Let me know what you think. Make sure to subscribe, because I'm going to be covering the update tomorrow, so you don't want to miss it, and I will see you next time.